Hello, everybody. I want to thank Senators Murray, Stabenow, and Schatz for joining us today. Well, we've had a productive lunch in the midst of a very busy week. Right now, if Republicans and Democrats continue to work together in good faith to fund the government, I'm hopeful we can avert a shutdown. We're not quite there yet, but as you know, we're close. Earlier this week, I joined the other congressional leaders in the White House to announce an agreement on the final 6 funding bills. These bills will make significant investments for the well-being of our service members, for keeping the U.S. competitive against the Chinese communist government, and more. More importantly, their speedy passage would avoid a senseless and damaging shutdown. Though we're still waiting for text and then House passage, we're making good progress, and as soon as the bill passes the House, I will put it on the Senate floor. It's no secret that it's going to be a tight squeeze to get these funding bills passed before the weekend deadline, so I ask all of my colleagues, Democrat and Republican, House and Senate, to be flexible and prepared so we can finish the appropriations process. I want to thank my Senate colleagues, particularly Chair Murray, Vice Chairman Collins, and Leader McConnell and the Speaker, and all the appropriators working in good faith to finish the job. Now, also today, President Biden made a massive announcement in Arizona to roll out a historic $5.8 billion grant for Intel to expand chip production here in the U.S., thanks to the CHIPS and Science Act. That's something, as you know, I cared a lot about, and I pushed it hard for 4 years to come up with, to get it done. But now all the hard work we did on this bill, I feel vindicated, because we're seeing manufacturing, chip science, science investments come back to America. This investment alone means 10,000 jobs, 20,000 construction jobs, and thousands of indirect jobs with over $100 billion in private investment. And today's announcement comes about a month after Global Foundries in New York received its own $1.5 billion award to expand their legacy chip production and further make New York a global hub for chip manufacturing. One announcement at a time, CHIPS and Science is delivering for the American people. I originally called it, as you know, Endless Frontiers. I love that name, and that's what I named it when we started out. But people thought it was about covered wagons or something, and so we changed the name to CHIPS and Science. But it's bringing a promise of manufacturing back to America, making the U.S. once again the leader in microchip production, which will be great for both our economic and our national security. Now, Senator Murray, who worked so long and hard on our appropriations bill.
Well, it has been a very long road, but we have a bipartisan, bicameral funding agreement, and we are finally nearly ready to close the book on FY24. These aren't the bills that Democrats would have written on our own. They are the result of very tough negotiations. We've had to stick to some very difficult top lines and fight off literally hundreds of Republican poison pills, not to mention some really harsh, almost unthinkable cuts proposed by House Republicans. But now we have a good bipartisan bill that protects absolutely essential investments in American people. As you all know, we have been working overtime now to finalize that package and release the text as soon as possible. I'll have a lot more to say soon, but these bills reflect input and priorities from nearly every senator. Bottom line, we're talking about 6 bills that help determine how we invest in America's future, funding everything from child care, pre-K programs, K-12 public schools, to Pell Grants and workforce training programs. They determine how much we invest in public health infrastructure, efforts to treat addiction, stop the flow of fentanyl, how much we are investing in cutting-edge research that literally saves lives, how much we're going to invest in our service members, and in defense and diplomatic programs that are essential to America's security and global leadership. And that's just scratching the surface. With so much on the line, there's absolutely no reason for a pointless and costly shutdown. And let me be absolutely clear. With bipartisan cooperation, we can get this done before our deadline. No one should want a shutdown. No one should cause a shutdown. Let's pull together and get this done. Democrats understand that, and we've been ready every time to move quickly and responsibly to fund the government. So excuse the former preschool teacher in me, but here's the lesson I hope everyone learns when we pass these last 6 bills. When we listen to each other and to the American people, instead of the loudest voices on the far right, we can work together, and we can actually pass meaningful bills that help people back home. Thank you.
Senator Stabenow.
Well, first, thank you to Senator Schumer, Senator Murray, all the appropriators and the staffs who've been working literally 24/7 to be able to get this done. The American people sent us to Washington to govern, and that's what this is about. And Democrats are always willing to work with Republicans to be able to get things done for people, to be able to do the right things for people. The important work of funding the priorities of the American people is what's in this omnibus that we have been pushing so hard to get done. These bipartisan appropriations, as have been said, make significant investments in people's quality of life, in our national defense, in supporting our service members, ensuring that we can compete with communist China, and they invest in health care, including mental health. I like to say health care above the neck, as well as health care below the neck, and other critical services as well. We must pass these bills quickly to avoid an unnecessary and harmful shutdown. These investments also reflect the continuation of a promise Democrats made to the American people when the Affordable Care Act was passed 14 years ago. Since that time, 46 million Americans now have affordable health care. 46 million people. 100 million Americans with pre-existing conditions are protected because of the work that we did as Democrats. And 40 states plus DC have expanded Medicaid for low-income families, for the birth of babies. About half the babies in this country are born under Medicaid health care. So it's critical. And now Democrats continue to lead on health care through lowering prescription drug costs, comprehensive funding in mental health care. We're going to see more and more of this coming out, community care, that's very exciting to me, and a commitment to protect Medicare and Medicaid. Meanwhile, Republicans continue to want to repeal the Affordable Care Act. I feel like it's Groundhog Day every time I hear Donald Trump talking about this. They want to eliminate protections for 100 million Americans that have pre-existing conditions, and they're ready to cut Medicare and Social Security. The American people deserve better than that kind of a health care agenda, and that's why we continue to put Americans first.
Senator Schatz.
Thank you, Leader Schumer. Thank you, Chair Murray and Chair Stabenow. You know, nobody wins a shutdown. We've seen this before. It weakens the country and it weakens our national security, which is especially urgent right now with 2 ongoing wars and a humanitarian crisis. It hurts people and families who rely on government programs for essential support, whether by delaying Medicare enrollment or preventing kids from getting an education through Head Start. The good news is that we can avoid a shutdown by working together on a bipartisan basis. I know that Leader Schumer and Senator Murray and myself and all of us are working as hard as we can to get these bills passed before the Friday night deadline. And we need to do our jobs, recognize what's at stake, and just get it done. Part of that for me means not voting for any amendments, even the ones that I like. This is not a political or policy question for me, it's basic timekeeping. Amending this bill will take up time that we don't have, all but guaranteeing a shutdown. So again, no one wins a shutdown, and everyone knows what we need to do. We're almost there. We can do this.
Thank you. Yes.
Leader McConnell said today on the floor that Democrats don't have an anti-Bibi problem, they have an anti-Israel problem. What do you say to him equating basically what you said about Netanyahu on the floor to foreign election interference?
Let me say this. I care deeply about Israel and its long-term future. When you make the issue partisan, you hurt the cause of helping Israel.
Leader Schumer.
Yes, yes.
Is it true that Prime Minister Netanyahu asked to address the Democratic caucus and you declined, and if so, why would you?
As I said, when you make these issues partisan, you hurt the cause of Israel.
Yes. But the specific accusation that you are interfering in a foreign election, you should not show any distance between the United States and a close ally at a time of war. That's what Republicans are saying.
Well, let me say this. I gave this speech out of a real love for Israel, and if you read the speech, we called only for there to be an election after the hostilities had declined, after Hamas was defeated. Yes.
Why haven't you called or moved to expel Senator Menendez, considering how abhorrent you think his conduct has been?
As I've said, the Senate has certain standards, and Menendez fell way below it. We're deeply disappointed in him.
But why not move
Yes.
against him?
Do you believe that the TikTok committee, Maria Campbell has said she
Yeah,
wants
I'm talking to the members of my caucus to decide the best path forward. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.